Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Female Film Critics Panel. And today's going to be a lot of fun. We are talking about movies from the 2020s and some popular new releases that have just come out that we're going to dive into. And it's always fun to chat movies. And I am very excited because today I have with me one of my friends on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it these days. Sorina is here. And Sorina, thanks so much for coming and talking with us.
Thank you so much, Rachel, for having me. I'm so excited
Yeah.
to chat today. I think it's going to be a great conversation. I have
Yeah,
many thoughts.
I really like your feed on X and what you've been saying, and I'm like, this seems like somebody that will be up for a good chat.
Yeah, no, I'm glad my rants have found a home.
Yeah. Well, this is your first time on the podcast, so why don't you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about how you got started in your love of film. Did you,
Well, my name is Sorina. Like you said, I'm a huge movie fan, TV shows, gamer, books,
uh-huh.
anything and everything that's kind of like pop culture in media. I don't know. I think I always liked the idea of film ever since I was little. It offers to me at least another world and kind of like escapism and wish fulfillment.
Hmm.
It teaches you stuff, it educates you, and so it's a great way of, I don't know, just experiencing other things and
Yeah.
just seeing what else is out there, just kind of being um, oftentimes in the community with people and just getting to chat and talk and get to know other people. It's been a great sort of medium for me.
Yeah, I think that often quoted Roger Ebert quote where he talks about that film is a machine for empathy that creates empathy. And so it allows you to experience the world of somebody and someone that you would never have been able to experience in such a different way than even reading a memoir or reading or other even going to a play. As much as I love plays, like there's something about a film that can really get you right in that person's perspective, which is really, and then also just take you away too.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I would say I'm quite an emotional movie watcher.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes a film would resonate with me and I love it. And I know that objectively it might have not been loved by the critics or loved by the audience, but it just emotionally I'm tied to it. And so I
Yeah.
could never quite divorce that sort of emotion that certain
Hmm.
films inspire in me. Even though I might know it's not the greatest film ever made.
Right, right.
But I
Do
think
you,
that's the point sometimes.
yeah. Oh, I agree. I agree. I mean, I love me a romantic comedy, and those usually get dogged on pretty hard by a lot of people. Oh, they're not realistic enough, or oh, they don't, you know, uh or oh, they have too many cliches. I'm like, yes, please, more cliches. Like if it's used in the right way, if it's done to be charming and entertaining and escapist, not everything has to be gritty realism.
Oh, I absolutely agree. I mean, I
Yeah.
love myself a good trope.
Yes,
Um,
right? Yeah.
I think again, like I don't know, there's nothing to be sort of turn your nose up at the idea of escapism and wish fulfillment. Like we all
Yes.
need that sometime.
Yeah.
Um, so if that resonated with you or whatever that is for you, I think that's a great thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, do you remember, was there a particular film that is especially inspired you as a little kid, like a iconic movie of your childhood?
Oh, that's a great question. Um, honestly, probably a Tom Hanks movie, most
Okay.
likely. He
Uh-huh.
was and he still remains one of my favorite actors growing up. Um, and so I don't know, I guess to narrow it down, there's so many I could pick from. Probably You've Got Mail, just to go with the kind
Ah,
of the rom-com
yes.
theme of it all.
Yes.
Um,
Have you
there's
seen
something about that movie.
the other versions of that story? Have you seen Shop Around the Corner or some of the
I
others?
do remember seeing it. Yeah, the old version of Shop Around the Corner. I do remember seeing it
Yeah.
many years ago, either like as a teenager or I barely remember it, to be honest.
Yeah.
Um, but maybe it's something to add to my list.
Well, I love both so much. I would actually give the slight edge to You've Got Mail just because in the original Chop Around the Corner, which I love, um, there's a suicide attempt, which feels very discordant to like the tone and feel and like I don't know. I just don't think it quite works. Like it's just a little dark, I think, for that story. And so I think that You've Got Mail is better. Plus, that Nora Ephron script is just
So good.
unbelievable. It is
It's so
so
good.
funny.
It's so funny and so nuanced, and there's just so many storylines
Yeah.
happening at the same time, and it all just kind of gels together, and it's such a fun time.
And
So yeah,
and
that's quite a good
yeah.
rom-com. And to give you an example of the other extreme, just so you can kind of, get a taste for my movie taste,
Uh-huh.
my other one would be Gladiator.
Okay.
So I think
Yeah.
you can't go more extreme than You've Got Mail than a Gladiator on the other. But
I
I
love
remember I
it.
think Gladiator was the first movie I've seen, must have been, 7, 8, something like that.
Oh, you
Like I
saw it
was
young.
below 10. Yeah. And I was just blown away by like
Yeah.
the spectacle of it.
Yeah.
To my 10-year-old mind or whatever, the speeches, the
Mhm.
drama, the music.
Yeah.
Maybe as an adult I would have been like, oh, maybe this is a little too cheesy, or maybe this is a little too much. But as a kid, I was just blown away. And
Yeah.
so that movie remained with me for basically my entire life. Um, and I think again, like it's a good example of just how emotionally attached I get to movies, that I've never sort of been able to separate those emotions that I experienced as a kid from the movie, and it just kind
Yeah.
of remained a top one for me.
Yeah, I get that. It's very, it's a really solid pick as far as a spectacle entertainment, like you're talking about. I get that. For me, the first movie that I really connected with, I certainly enjoyed other ones, but was The Little Mermaid. That came out when I was 8 because I'm a bit older than you. It came out when I was 8, and I just absolutely adored it. I loved everything about it. I still do to this day. The animation, I'm a huge animation girl. I love a good animated film, and I love the animation. I love Ariel as a character and her spirit and her desire to do something different. That was
Mhm.
very appealing to me as a young girl, and the songs, of course, are unsurpassed. So
Iconic.
yes, yes. So that was a very important movie for me. My sister and I, we used to have like we shared a room and we would have these like singing competitions who sounded the most like Ariel. And I mean, neither of us would probably do very well, but it was fun. And so that was very special to me, that movie. And then in when I was 13, uh Jurassic Park, that was the movie
Mm,
that had that spectacle a thing for me.
yeah.
When I just never forget seeing it for the first time and just being blown away. Like I was right up there with characters. What? Oh my gosh, it was
Yeah.
so incredible. And but I think it's not just the spectacle. Like the characters are so good. One of my favorite scenes in the film, in the original film, is when John Hammond and the Statler are eating ice cream because it's gonna melt, and he's telling the story about the flea circus. And she
Mhm.
says, "It's all an illusion. It's I just love that conversation so much. It tells you so much about the characters. It tells you, so it's not just a monster movie. It has like it has deeper themes of playing God and and ambition and science and just so many different things that it's talking about. And but it's still fun and it's still entertaining, and it's got good characters that have arcs that
Yeah.
yeah, so that was a very Jurassic Park was a very special movie for me. And so those are probably the two. They're probably my still two of my favorite movies to this day.
Yeah, they know
Or
they stick with you.
mhm,
And I agree. I mean, I think looking back at some of my favorite movies, I think there's always that balance of having fun
uh-huh,
and, being kind of like enchanted by it, even if it's, the
uh-huh,
big explosions or like the quiet character moments, but then also having that sort of aspect of it that resonates deeper in terms of what is it saying? Is it saying
yeah,
anything? Can I relate to it? And a lot of the movies are like, okay, maybe at face value, I can't relate to them because I don't know what it's like to stare down the face of a dinosaur. But it's
right,
like ultimately not about that, right? It's
yeah,
about, okay, what is it saying deeper about, feelings and love and
yeah,
family and all of those things. Um,
yeah. You
yeah,
can't
so I do
relate to
think the
seeing a
the best
dinosaur.
movies have a balance.
Yeah, you can't relate to seeing a dinosaur, but you can relate to like obsession and ambition and a lot of the even more sort of slightly religious almost themes of it, like
Yeah.
what about life? What does life mean? All these different things that you can certainly connect with. All of the sequels have all been disappointing because they to varying degrees they've all been disappointing because they're just almost all of them have made the characters just so stupid, and it's just
Yeah.
like I'll just watch the original. Like they're just they always get me in the trailers. Even this new one, I'm like, oh,
Hmm.
that trailer looks really good, and then I go and I'm like, ah. But
I do think I don't remember which one it was. It was the very first one with Chris Pratt that they did a couple of years
yeah,
ago.
Jurassic World, yeah,
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it from the perspective of, okay, we're going to the movie and it's, big blockbuster explosion, eat some
yeah,
popcorn. Like I was entertained for the
uh-huh,
moment and I enjoyed it.
uh-huh.
Um, but if you were to like tell me to recount the movie right now, I don't think I could. I don't actually remember what it was about.
It was
So it's not as
watchable.
ingrained in me as the first one would be.
Yeah,
And so that's, it's always interesting how movies would age in
yeah.
for me and for someone. Um, but I think a lot of the time, I don't know, maybe I'm just easy to please. If I'm having a good time during the movie, maybe it's not going to be a movie that sticks with me, but I enjoy it for the time being.
Are you a fan of Rachel's reviews? Do you look forward to Family Movie Night, Female Film Critics panels, or the Talking Disney podcast? If so, please consider supporting the podcast by becoming a patron. As a patron, you get to access monthly events such as the watch-alongs and Q&As, where you get to talk to stars and find out the behind the scenes of the movie making industry. And you can pick what I review for Family Movie Night or even become a guest on the podcast. Podcasts and YouTube channels are expensive, and I really, really could use your help. I would so appreciate it. You also get to be a member of the Facebook group where we talk about all the films that we're seeing, and we have so much fun. Go to patreon.com/hallmarkies and select one of the Rachel's fan tiers. That's patreon.com/hallmarkies.
Well, how do you feel about movies post pandemic? Do you think that we have bounced back, or what do you think? What do you think of the current state of cinema? How do you feel?
I mean, I don't think cinema is dead. Contrary to what is it, the Netflix CEO says about,
Oh yeah.
spectators saying that now we want to watch movies at home. I don't agree with that at all. Um, I don't think probably we've bounced back necessarily in terms of seeing, the smaller, more independent movies. I think those are still probably we still have just a little to go with those because those are usually the ones that are, new and fresh, but people
Uh-huh.
don't see them. But I do think we are back, I think, going to the movies in terms of sort of the huge blockbuster kind of
You know
cultural media things that people
the
go and see.
The thing that I actually think is the most hurt is the mid-range film, the mid-budget film. Like that, I think
Mhm.
there's enough blockbusters that we're like there, and those are self-sustaining, and there's enough indies that you can have like a solid indie hit. The festivals are, all back up and running and doing well, and all this stuff. It's unless it has obvious Oscar appeal, it is really hard to have to get even released in theaters a mid-budget film. I mean, that's why I was excited for something like The Amateur, for instance, that came out this year. I enjoyed it. It wasn't perfect, but like that kind of like mid-budget in the middle, in that case it was an action film. Really rare these days, I feel like.
Mhm.
It's either, oh, I've got to watch something really artsy and really indie and, whatever, or I've got to watch something big, blockbuster Marvel, kind of a thing. And that middle ground, I think, is uh, a lot lost.
Yeah. I Yeah, I mean, I don't think I ever thought about it that way, but no, I think what it makes sense what you're saying. And I'm wondering if maybe some of those, by no fault of their own or not because they're not good movies, but I wonder if they get a little bit lost. Because you have the big blockbuster ones, which always generate all the buzz, and it's, the
Yeah.
new stunt or the new explosion or the new whatever. And then you have the really indie ones, which do well because of word of mouth. Like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, this is
The
like such a small
festivals.
movie, but it's so incredible. Um, and then being bombarded with so much other media from streaming sites and TV
Yeah.
shows and this, and like there's just so much to consume nowadays that I think the middle range ones, you're right, are the ones that are getting lost,
Yeah. I
which I
mean,
think it's a shame.
yeah, especially romantic comedies. I mean, it is almost unheard of for a romantic comedy to get a theatrical release. Again, unless it's like a very, very indie, one, or uh something something that every once in a while you'll get things that sort of pretend to be rom-coms, but they're not actually rom-coms, like
Mhm.
The Fall Guy last year. You know, they're like separated the entire movie. I was so irritated. And they're packaging and marketing like it's a romantic comedy. It's not hardly at all. And so that's about it. We've had like a few Anyone But You, The Lost City. We had a couple, but they're very rare, and almost all of them go immediately to streaming these days, and which is just annoying and sad. I mean, this year alone, you had Bridget Jones going to direct streaming, even though all of them have been successful. There was no other romance in the theaters over a Valentine's Day weekend. It makes no sense. This thing still tripled its budget, even though it was only released internationally. But
Yeah,
but yeah, I mean, like
it's weird.
Red, White, and Royal Blue, that Anne Hathaway movie last year. Uh, I forget what it's called, but anyway, that went straight to
The
streaming.
idea of you, the one with
Yeah,
she's
yeah,
in love with the celebrity guy. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And I don't know. It's just really sad.
Yeah, no, it is. And I mean, all of the movies that you've mentioned, Lost City and the idea of you with Anne Hathaway, I've seen them all on streaming and I've enjoyed all of them. Like
Yeah,
I genuinely like them. Do I think,
yeah,
they're like one of the greatest rom-coms ever made? No, but they're solid movies and they're
yeah.
entertaining.
Yeah, I mean, you'll see when I show you my list. Man, I think that the Red, White, and Royal Blue, I do think it's one of the best rom-coms ever made. I really do.
Hmm.
I thought they had such incredible chemistry. I thought it was so entertaining and heartfelt too. I loved that movie. And but yeah, it's just sad. And let's talk about the Materialist, because that's where I first saw your tweets, because I responded very negatively to it, as you did. And when I got out of the theater, I was, and people had prepared me that it wasn't going to be the rom-com I was hoping it would be, because I felt like Celine Song had such an opportunity here. she was basically given kind of a blank check. You can make whatever movie you want after past lives. And then she's on all these interviews saying how much she loves romantic comedies. They're doing all these spots that look very like, oh, this is gonna be a love triangle. This is gonna be so fun. And then to go and see a movie that is cynical about its characters, it's cynical about love, it's cynical about human behavior, and and I just felt like, oh my gosh, I've seen this movie so many times. Like I get it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I literally get it because it sucks being single and I know it. But I get that it sucks, particularly being single woman in New York City. I understand that. I've heard it all before. You know what I mean? Like I just felt like, I guess it was frustrating to me because the movie was just so unpleasant. I thought it was so unpleasant. Like I was just not expecting to have a character get assaulted and that be used as a motivational tool for our leading lady. And like even the love triangle wasn't fun because it wasn't even a love triangle. She literally dates one person, breaks up, starts dating another person. That's not a love triangle. They're literally, the three of them are in the same room for about 30 seconds of the movie. It's not a love triangle. She just dates two people. And I don't know. I get it why some people are enjoying it, but it was a big letdown for me. It just wasn't fun. I did not think it was entertaining.
Yeah, no, I mean, I did not love it. I
Yeah,
didn't think it was great or even good. Um, and I had seen really good things about it on,
me
Twitter and
too.
on the
Me
internet, and
too.
the reviews were good. But I did go into it a little apprehensively because I was hoping the movie would say something about, this modern dating where it's chaotic and it's painful and
Yeah.
it's messy. And I mean, the movie's called Materialists, so I was really hoping it would speak to this, kind of, I guess, aspect or relationship that we see in the dating world, where women are more motivated by the aspect of financial security, and they're willing to settle more for that aspect if a guy has it, whereas a men are still very much, in this sort of
Physical.
beauty and attraction and, love
But
and all those feelings.
I think a
So I
lot
was
of
really
that,
hoping.
I think a lot of that though makes way more sense with younger characters. Maybe I'm just naive, but it, me and my friends, like most of us are just excited to have a date with at all. Like, and like most people that I know in their 30s and 40s. So she's like, I think she says she's 35, 36, like are
Something like that,
stable
yeah.
enough that they don't, that's not like a a top priority. Like most people I know have like their own places and have their own, like, so the financial aspect of it isn't like as top a priority as it might be for somebody who's young and more superficial. Plus, like
Hmm.
you're just more mature. So I I don't know. I that's why I think it came off as so cynical to me, was because I just don't know that many of these singles that have their like laundry list of like, oh, he's got to be this, he's got to be this, he's got to be this unicorn. Most people that I know are just like, oh my gosh, I have a date. I'm so excited, because you just don't
Hmm.
have that many.
Yeah. I mean, I think, which it's so interesting about the movie, because I think ultimately that's what it's trying to say, is to leave the cynicism behind and end up with the love of your life, like, because that's
Yeah,
literally what happens in the movie, right? So
right.
that's its message ultimately. But I think even that, how it got there, was not well done at all. There
I
was
agree.
no payoff. There was no work that the movie did either for the characters or their relationships. Um, in terms of Lucy, right? I think her name was. I mean, she spends the entire movie, right, saying, I've always known I was going to marry rich. I want to marry rich. That for me, that's kind of like that financial security is my stability in a relationship. There was no work done for her character for her to flip the way she did in a single scene at the end.
Yeah.
Um, you know, Chris Evans' character, John. John, yes, I think it was John.
Yeah.
Um, he also, like, the movie didn't show me how he grew
Uh,
out of that sort of pitfall that made him break up the first time.
The
He was
only
still in the
thing,
same place.
the only thing that they did is that his apartment annoys him. That's their like hint hint. He's matured now. He's grown up. He doesn't like his roommates. That was all they
Yeah.
gave you. All they gave you.
But he was still in the same situation. Like the same problems that existed the first time they broke up still existed by the end of the movie. Nothing changed in their
Yeah.
lives. And so for all of them for me to like buy the happy ending, which I love a happy ending. It's a rom-com. I am a romantic at heart. Give me the
Yeah.
happy ending. Give me the wish fulfillment and the escapism. But there was no work put into it to show me how they got to that ending. It just
Yeah.
seemed like they needed to get to that ending because that's the ending they wanted. And so they kind of went through the motion. There is the scene in the kitchen between Dakota Johnson's character and Pedro Pascal's character, where she lets him know that I don't love you. This relationship isn't going anywhere because I just don't love you. And that to me was such a good example of the lack of work the script put in, which I thought was
Yeah.
kind of mind-boggling, just knowing that Celine Song this past life. Because it's kind of like, okay, you've been dating this man for, I'm guessing, 3 to 5 months. The movie never really established it, but it wasn't like you've been dating for years. And so in 3 months, I think realistically, unless it's love at first sight and it's, actually extremely rare, you're not going to be in love with this person. You're still going to get to know each other. But no, the
That's
movie
true.
needed them to break up so she could go to John. So
I
again, just
also,
going through the certain
yeah,
motions of it with no establishment and no real feelings that would make me understand why are you doing what you're doing.
I
And that to
agree.
me is so frustrating. It's so
Yeah.
frustrating.
And the fact that they used his having had the surgery as the, oh, see, you're not who I that as a source of judgment for her and as her main catalyst for like, oh, I really don't love this person. They're a phony or whatever. It was, I just thought, so weak. So
It was that's again,
like
and
what
it's
a
one of the examples
weird,
that I was just shocked by that the script was so weak because like I get that maybe they weren't trying to say that necessarily, but that she was breaking up with him because of his surgery. But the timing of it
it's
and how
definitely,
the conversation sort of
it
unraveled,
was
it was
definitely
just
the catalyst for, oh, we realize he's actually not the real authentic unicorn that I thought. And like if you had the same plot for and it was a man judging a female character because she like had a boob job or whatever, like that would not that would not be seen as like charming or like heartfelt at all. I don't think.
Mhm.
Been like,
Yeah, I
what?
mean, I also think there is also something interesting, and I haven't really thought about this a lot, but because ultimately the movie is saying she's leaving behind her sort of materialistic ambitions to marry the rich guy and goes back to John.
Uh-huh.
But there is something very interesting about this whole idea of, okay, the woman was borderline vilified for what she wanted, and she had to change, but the man remained unchanged for her. John
Yeah.
didn't grow. John didn't even try to get out of his situation. And then there is that part where he's actually at the end says, "Oh, maybe I'll try and do commercials instead of theater." And I'm like, dude, you're like living in an apartment with two other guys. You have $25 in your bank account or however much, you wanted to do theater and you're not doing commercials because, oh, I want to do theater, even though you're like borderline dying of hunger, pretty much. Like that, there is
Yeah.
something so inherently sexist about that. And it's
Yeah.
not even about, oh, she's materialistic and cynic. No, no, no. Like that, whatever. That's a whole different conversation. But the idea that the woman had to change and meet the guy and the guy didn't, that to me just kind of broke everything apart. And it's
Yeah.
again another example of a weak, what I thought was a weak script, which is just shocking because I think I expected more from it.
And yet, if they do change themselves to be a more attractive person, they're statistically at least, they're vilified for it. It's
Yeah.
literally the reason she breaks up with him is because he had this surgery, which is bonkers. Yeah, I said that and this was one of my most anticipated films of the year. I was so hopeful from the interviews she'd given in the trailers. It would be a fun, if indie, romantic comedy. Sadly, that is not the case. Instead, we get another treatise on the woes of modern dating and how cynical singles are in New York City. This is the kind of story we used to get from Woody Allen, except without the humor or witty banter.
Mm-hmm.
Literally, a major subplot of this movie revolves around a single woman getting sexually assaulted. It does have a nice style to it, but even that feels derivative and uninspired. Chris Evans is pretty charming, but other leads fell flat for me, and nobody has any chemistry. Just a big old disappointment. But yeah, I really, especially, I would imagine that Celine Song is a fan of Woody Allen's film Manhattan. And if you've seen that, but it feels
Mm-hmm.
very similar, except for Manhattan is way funnier. And I think a lot of my issues with this, and it's about younger people, and I thought of my issues with this movie would have been overcome if I was laughing, but I wasn't laughing like at all.
Yeah, I mean,
Like I can take like a
it was just
cynical
by the
movie if
end
I'm
of it,
laughing.
and yeah, and that's what I was going to say. By the end of it, I think the movie and the message is so muddled. Had it at least stuck with like speaking to that cynicism of the dating world and saying something interesting about that, I think
Yeah,
that would have been good. That would have been great. But I mean, it kind of does that, and then it switches at the end, and it's like, nope, happy ending.
yeah,
Choose love. With again, not that I have a problem with that ending necessarily, but it's how you got there that was just so lacking to me, and
yeah.
just the subplot with the sexual assault,
Yeah,
because it wasn't
that
even
was
harassment, it
bad.
was assault. I watched a movie with a friend in theaters, and that storyline started happening, and I literally turned to my friend and I said, "Oh no, this is going down the drain so quickly for me."
Yeah, it was bad.
Um, because I mean, it is a pitfall, and that's the truth. You don't know the person, whether you're swiping on Tinder or Bumble or whatever it is, Facebook dating. You don't know the person ultimately. You don't know what you're getting. It's a reality that happens. But I think the way it was used was so insane. And I was so
Yeah,
shocked that it like made it into the movie. Because like you said, it really was used as a means to show that Lucy cares about her clients more than just ticking boxes. But it was just ridiculous. And there's that scene where she's waiting for Sophie, I think the client's name was. She's waiting for Sophie to talk to her outside her apartment because she hasn't been picking up her calls after the sexual assault. And she's wearing this trench coat and she's having this baseball cap, and she cannot look more like a stalker. It's just the image of it was
yeah,
so unbelievable to me that that's what they chose to go with. And then you have the scene where this person who has now been sexually assaulted, it's not your fault, you didn't know, but she's clearly saying, I don't want to talk, leave me alone, please, I don't want to talk to you. Your response to it is to basically run after her in the streets and pretty much stalk her
I
just
mean,
so you
it is
can make
hard to
yourself
believe.
feel better.
It is hard to believe that this Sophie like has literally nobody else in her life. She doesn't have any family, any friends that she can talk to about this, that she can call. Like it seems like really she would be the last human being that she would want to come help her.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was very
So it was,
manipulative and frustrating
yeah,
and just not fun. This movie was not fun.
yeah,
Like at
yeah.
least
It really
like
wasn't.
yeah. And it, like I said, it didn't even really have a love triangle. At least something like Challengers, it had a legit love triangle. Like they were battling back and forth between the two options, and they were both like that was way better as far as the love triangle,
Oh,
in
absolutely. I
my
mean,
opinion.
Challengers was a great movie.
Yeah.
Great movie.
And it's just frustrating because I feel like it was such an opportunity. Like she could have done something that would have really made an impact because I I don't know. I've lost all hope for romantic comedy. I don't know if it's salvageable at this point, but if we were the best hope that we have as genre as for me as a genre fan is that somebody will have the clout to take a risk and it'll be super successful and that might inspire copycats. But I was so hopeful after anyone but you, the one with Glenn Powell, did
Mm-hmm.
so well. It did so well in theaters. I didn't even think it was that good, but it did well in theaters. And I thought, oh, maybe this will inspire, but no, just all direct streaming, all it's so frustrating. But even if I wasn't disappointed because it's not a rom-com, like I was asking myself, am I only disappointed because it's not the movie I wanted it to be, or is it legitimately bad? Like so I was like, but so I think even as a drama, I think that the performances are pretty wooden. I think the script is pretty poor. I think it's manipulative. It's it's very derivative of better movies that have explored the same topics, I think more effectively. Um, I don't know. It's just I don't get it. I don't really get uh the widespread acclaim it seems to be getting.
No, I agree. I mean, I think for me, the movie did fail on two fronts because I was asking myself the same question coming out of the
Yeah.
theater. Because it wasn't the story I wanted to see. I actually was hoping they would, you know, embrace the materialistic cynicism of it all a little more
Yeah.
and say something interesting about that. And it didn't. And I'm like, okay, well, do I don't like the movie because it didn't go the way I wanted it to go? And part of it, yes, that's kind of like the first aspect why it failed for me. But it did also ultimately feel because what I got and what I saw on the screen was just poorly done. There was
Yeah.
no, again, everyone just sort of moved through the beats
Yeah.
to get
I
to the
agree.
ending where they wanted. I thought the actors were fine. Like they weren't unwatchable or anything.
Yeah.
I think, Dakota Johnson and her kind of like a, more low-key acting worked well for the character. So she was fine. Um, Chris Evans probably had the most to work with I thought.
Yeah.
In terms of the scenes he got and again, he said the right things in the right tone. He had the right, expression on his face when he said it. It still felt ultimately to me pretty sterile.
Yeah, I
It,
agree.
I didn't find that emotion and that feeling. And so it didn't all come together for me at all, and it was such a disappointment. I think it's probably one of my most disappointing movies in a long time.
Yeah, agreed. I agree. I'd like to take a second to thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the good folks over at BetterHelp. It's summer, things are super busy, and it can be easy to forget about our health. And one aspect of our health is our mental health. And I know in my late 20s, I particularly went through a tough time where I really did need the help of a therapist. And that's something that you get with BetterHelp. BetterHelp has over 10 years of experience matching people with the right therapist from their diverse network of more than 30,000 licensed therapists with a wide range of specialties. It's fully online, making therapy affordable and convenient, serving over 5 million people worldwide. So get the help that you need. Visit betterhelp.com/hallmarkies to get 10% off your first month. That's betterhelp.com/hallmarkies. Have a favorite films you've seen this year, 2025?
So far, I'd probably have to be Sinners.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was a little messy, I thought, but I did overall enjoy it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
I
get
think for
that.
me it was Sinners. Yeah, it worked again. I thought it was, from a technical perspective, just incredibly made
Hmm.
in terms of the direction, the cinematography, the music, the scoring,
Yeah.
um, the story beats. And it's probably just the movie, the greatest example I would have where the ending of the movie just made the whole movie for me.
Mm.
And I guess props to them
You mean
having putting it in the
the
post
post
credit.
credit? Okay, yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
because I mean that wasn't a post credit scene. That was actually the ending of the movie. So it was
Yeah.
very interesting um for them to do that. Because I watched it in theater, and some people, as soon as as the last sort of scene of the continuous movie ended, they just got up and left. And then there's that, beat where like they're playing jazz in the club, and then that ends, and then we get the post credit scene. And so those people just missed the actual ending of the movie,
Yeah.
which I thought
That
was
was
such an interesting decision. But I don't know, maybe it was some kind of like reward for people who like stick through the credits and have it just shown
yeah.
up as like the real ending. And like I think, it just kind of made the movie for me. So
Yeah.
that, so far it's been my favorite. We'll see how
Yeah.
the rest of the year shapes up. We're still pretty early. Like we're only 6 months in. There's still plenty of time.
I can see that. Solid pick. My favorite that's been released in theaters is a little indie film called The Ballad of Wallace Island. I don't know if you got a chance to see this, but
I did
um,
not know.
it's really good. It stars Carey Mulligan, and it's about this man who lives on this Wallace Island in England, and he wins the lottery. And Carey Mulligan was in this folk duo with this guy. I can't remember if they're married or they were just dating or whatever. They did this folk duo, and they broke up. And this guy wants to use his lottery earnings to basically bring these two people back together and have them perform a concert for him, just himself on the island. And it's really sweet. It's got great songs. It's charming. It's one of those, I don't understand like why these studios and distributors, why they spend all this big bucks on these films at Sundance and South by Southwest and other places, and then they just do nothing with them. Like this movie is a crowd pleaser. I really feel like with the slightest bit of effort, it could have been a hit. Like it's
Mhm.
very, very charming. And so that's my favorite. I did love a movie that I saw at South by Southwest that hasn't been released yet. I don't even know if it'll ever get a release. But I hope so. Called Nirvana, the band, the show, the movie, and it doesn't have anything to do with Nirvana. I don't even know why it's called that, but but it's hilarious. It's it's hard to explain. It's about these. It's one of those movies that like merges together fiction and it merges together narrative and real. Like you'll see sometimes the people's faces will be blurred, and so it's like a genuine real response that they're getting, but it's a fake, it's a narrative story. And it was, there were so many times when I was like, what are they doing? Oh my gosh. It was I was laughing so hard. It was insane. So keep an eye out for
Yeah, I'm
Nirvana.
gonna have to add them to my list.
Yes, keep an eye out for Nirvana, the band, the show, the movie. It's about these two friends that have dreamed of playing in this particular club. And I forget if I think it's Chicago. I think it's Chicago. Anyway, and so they end up through various contrivances, end up time traveling back to
There's a lot happening in this movie.
yes, it really is. It's so bizarre. Um and then so then there's all these different things happening. One becomes like a one becomes a star, and are they going to remain friends, and alternate realities. It's a lot happening, but it's, to me at least, it was really funny. So keep an eye out for that. And another
We'll
movie
definitely
that's
have to.
smaller. Unfortunately, this was just to Netflix, which sucks, but I really, really enjoyed a little movie called Nona's. I don't know if you heard about this, but it was so charming. Vince Vaughn, he his mother has died, and he has her got her life insurance. He's trying to think of what could do to celebrate her, and he has these fond memories of being there with her and his nonna when she was cooking her pasta sauce and cooking, and he decides he's gonna open up a restaurant with nonnas cooking and their recipes and meals and stuff like that. And it's completely charming, well
Mm,
done. It's, again, it's one of these mid budget films that in a different age, this I could see this thing being a healthy hit, making $150 million, being everyone's
yeah,
favorite charming little
yeah,
movie. But in this day and age, it goes straight to Netflix.
yeah. I mean, one that I've also really enjoyed, and I saw it in theater, and I guess I mean, it probably was ultimately kind of like mid-budget sort of movie, was Black Bag with
Oh, you
Kate
like
Blanchett
that?
and Michael
Yeah.
Fassbender. I did. I enjoyed that.
Mm.
I mean, it wouldn't necessarily be a movie that I would like rewatch again and again and again. But I just enjoyed, that it was a different kind of movie. It felt a little bit more mature. No, and I won't spoil it, but it's basically about this spy couple kind of dealing with something in their both professional and personal life. But I just enjoyed that, there was this movie that showed us a married couple that was in each other's corners, that, trusted each other and were working with each other. And there's just a certain, I don't know, I guess maturity and different take on like relationships than we usually see in a movie
Yeah.
where there's, the drama or like, will they, won't they, will they make it, will they not get together, will they get together? That I Yeah, so I really enjoyed Black Bag. Um, I think it was a fun plot. It didn't ultimately go where you think it was gonna go, which was also kind of exciting. Especially if you're gonna have like an espionage movie.
Yeah.
Um, but it was a little slower, it was long shots, long kind of talking scene. It wasn't a lot of action. But I just enjoyed it because it was a little different than anything that we had gotten so far this year in theaters.
We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies merch store.
Are you looking for that perfect gift for the postable, hardy, or Hallmarky in your life?
What about getting that t-shirt or hoodie that will help you stand out at your next holiday party?
Now is the time to check out the Hallmarkies merch store.
Full of festive designs by artists like Jessica Miller, Carrie from Hallmark Comics, and more.
You can even have more than just shirts, but totes, cell phone cases, notebooks, mugs, and more.
And it isn't just Hallmark. We have designs for Anna Green Gables, Man from Snowy River, The Nanny, and more.
Every purchase at the merch store goes to help support the podcast and allows us to make the great content you know and love.
There are frequent sales, so go to tpublic.com/stores/hallmarkies or see the link in the description.
That's tpublic.com/stores/hallmarkies.
I thought it would be fun to talk in this episode, talk about the critic David Ehrlich. He has put together his best movies of the 2020s. And as he is tend to do, it's a quite divisive list. um, I do not agree with. Uh, I mean, I wouldn't have really. I don't think any of the films he has in his top 10, in certainly in my top 10. I the highest I feel about his top 10 is probably Top Gun Maverick. I did really enjoy that, but yeah, it's quite the list. He has Nickel Boys as number one. And I'll be honest, I left early. I couldn't handle it. It was too much. I felt like I was gonna puke. I don't know. I wasn't a big Nickel Boys.
Yeah.
Did you see that? Nickel Boys?
I did not see that
Oh,
because I've heard how it was filmed. Um, and I wasn't sure I would enjoy that, to be honest. So I didn't prioritize it very high on my list of movies to see. I do
yeah.
want to see it eventually. Um,
But
yeah, I
I
mean, I,
also
I think I
thought
was
coming
definitely surprised by number one.
I appreciate the swing. I do, but like I also felt like the the first person perspective, while innovative, it kind of kept the characters at a distance. Like I wasn't able to,
Hmm.
like, because I'm literally not seeing their expression, not seeing what they're feeling. And so I I didn't love that choice, even though I appreciate the tried something. Um,
Hmm.
then he has number two, Zone of Interest, which I did admire. I wasn't as crazy about it as others. I appreciate again the swing, and I get it being on this list. I appreciate that it's trying something new. I just feel like it would have been better as a short. I just don't think that there was a feature there in what they were trying to do. Um, but it was solid. I did appreciate it, but it wouldn't be this high on my list, that's for sure.
No, I think, honestly, if I remember correctly, I think I started the Zone of Interest and then I didn't finish it. Not
Yeah,
because I thought it was like really bad or anything like that. I think it probably didn't hook me. And it's just one of those moments where like you get caught up with something
yeah,
else and then you just never end up finishing. So
yeah,
can't speak to that one,
yeah,
unfortunately. And me not finishing should probably not be taken as an indication of how bad the movie
yeah.
is. But
Well, then three has After Sun, which was a pretty good movie, solid. I liked that. Tar, that was a pretty good movie. I didn't love it as much as
I mean, it was
others,
good.
but
I don't know
it
that
was
I would
good.
put it in number four
Yeah. Then he has
necessarily.
the boy and the heron, which I have to be honest, I find it kind of boring. Like I think, and I'm just not that into like birds. So the birds kind of, I don't know, they kind of freak me out a little bit. But
No,
it
I
was
mean,
like
I
decent.
think
It
it's
was good.
it was decent, but like if we were compare it to, some of the other Miyazaki films, I think it's
Yeah,
one of the weakest ones.
I agree. I agree.
So definitely not as high.
So number six, he had Lovers Rock. I had never even heard of this. I missed this
I've
one during
not
the
seen this
pandemic.
one either. I mean, Steve McQueen, but no, I did not see this one.
And
I
then
mean,
Top Gun.
2020 was probably lost.
Yeah, yeah, I guess so. Number seven,
Yeah.
Top Gun Maverick, which super entertaining, very,
Yeah.
yeah, very fun movie. I way better than it had any right to be.
No, it
Um,
was a really good movie. I do remember watching it in theaters and I really enjoy it. I saw it recently, I think was I don't know on TV or something and I caught
uh-huh.
bits of it. Um it didn't resonate with me as much as it did the first time I saw it.
Uh-huh.
Wondering if the first time I was probably caught in like the spectacle of it and like its own
Yeah.
story.
I've never
On my
watched it
second
outside of the
rewatch,
theaters before. So yeah, I've never done that.
I when I rewatched it on the TV, I found myself annoyed with Maverick's character, I think, and the
Uh,
lack of growth he showed from the first movie. It's like, come on, dude, you're like what in your 50s now? Like I expected you to be a little bit more mature, but I guess,
yeah.
he's Maverick. That's why everyone loves him because he is how he is. Um, yeah,
I
I
can
mean,
see
again,
that.
a little higher on the list. I think I liked some of the latest Mission Impossible movies more than I did Top Gun Maverick, but
Yeah, you were a fan of this
uh,
Final Reckoning. You really liked it?
I've really enjoyed it. I really, really liked it. Yes. I thought it wrapped up very well. You know, if it is the ending, it's a good ending. If it's not the ending, there's, I guess, the door's open for more. Um, I really liked it. I mean, I was always been a huge fan of
Mhm.
Ethan Hunt as a character. And I thought this one just, was such a good story in terms of just what a good person he is, and just what he sacrificed and everything he's sort of done throughout the year. So I was a huge fan of it. It looked incredible in IMAX. I mean,
Yeah. The
incredible.
second half I enjoyed quite a bit. That first half was rough for me. I thought it was,
That my friend thought the same thing. My friend
yeah,
had the same reaction, just like
it
that
was
first part.
rough.
I don't know. I guess I always appreciate a good recap. And it's been a lot of movies. It has been a lot
I
of movies.
guess.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah. Well, so then he had excuse me, then he has the documentary Time, which is a very good documentary at number 8. Number 9, Drive My Car. I do not understand this movie. Like, I don't know. I just didn't get it. I didn't vibe with it. It didn't move me. It wasn't awful, but I don't know. I just didn't think it was anything special. And it to get best picture and win Oscars, and I don't know, especially because he has number 10, he has Decision to Leave. And I think that was way better
mhm. I mean,
movie.
I liked Drive My Car. I enjoyed it. I thought it was, an acting fest. So no complaints. There was very well acted. It was kind of very well
Yeah.
scripted. But I would have to agree, Decision to Leave is superior.
Yeah.
I mean, Park Chan-wook, one of my favorite directors, really. Um, Maybe controversial. I think he's even better than Bong Joon-ho. I know, Bong Joon-ho kind of got the sort of Western
Yeah.
mainstream
I mean,
there first, but
Parasite
I
I
think
think
I
is
think
a
Park
master.
Chan-wook.
Yeah, I think Parasite is a masterpiece, but but definitely, I mean, especially that Mickey 17, that was terrible in my opinion. I thought it was really bad. So I'm not going to disagree with you there.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's see. So that's his, and I don't know how many you came up with as far as your thoughts, but I have a top 10 of the 2020s that I could share, and you share as many as you have because I didn't give you a number,
Hmm.
but number 10 for me is Emma. This was the last movie I saw before theaters were closed in 2020. I'm a huge Jane Austen nut. I love like 99% of things that are based on it. That Persuasion that they done Netflix was absolutely
Yeah.
horrible, but for
Oh, that
the
was that was painful. That
it
was
was
painful.
painful. But for the most part, if it's reasonably accurate, I'm probably going to enjoy it a little bit. This was, I thought, excellent and really well cast, and I just really loved the style. The I loved the Harriet Smith she was so good. Mia got this Harriet. I loved it, and like I said, it was. I still saw it 3 times in theaters in 2020 somehow because of when it came out. So yeah, that's my number 10.
I get it. I think I saw it 2 times.
Yeah,
I
it was
I
so
really enjoyed
good.
it. It was really fun. I'm a huge Jane
Oh,
Austen fan.
yes. Oh
The
my gosh.
2005 Pride and Prejudice is one of my all-time favorite movies, just full
Yes.
stop. It's also probably the movie I've rewatched the most. It's like I'm feeling sad, put it on. I'm feeling happy, put it on. I'm feeling
Yeah.
blue, put it on. Like it's a good movie for every kind of
Yeah.
emotion.
And Johnny Flynn in this. Oh, he was so
He was
good.
he
Oh,
was very dreamy. He was
oh,
perfect. And Knightley is an incredible character. I think it's one of
yeah.
Austen's best
Well, and
leading
Emma's
heroes.
yeah, and Emma's a fun one. Oh, my voice. Emma's a fun one because we get to see them together way more than
Hmm.
any of the other Austen stories. They because they are basically family and they're bantering back and forth. Like most of the ironic thing about Jane Austen, and we'll have to have you on to do a full Jane Austen episode now. I know you're a super fan, is that in Jane Austen, her books are ostensibly about love, but they have almost no or very little romantic dialogue between the couples. Very little.
Yeah.
Except for Emma. Emma's the one that actually has that banter. And I mean, Persuasion has basically none, zero. Because it's all in the past. It's all letters, things. And Sense and Sensibility doesn't really have any. Pride and Prejudice has like a tiny bit, but not much. And in Pride and Prejudice, when in the book, when Darcy proposes, it says something like, he said what was appropriate for a man desperately in love, or something. He says something like that, and it's like, no, I want to know what he said.
Yeah, no, I agree. Oh my goodness, I could talk about Jane Austen all day, and so I will not get sidetracked. But I will say I do think the best adaptations so far have been the ones that have been able to show that romance
Yeah.
without changing the source material. Like there's no great sex scenes in any of the Jane Austens, right? Obviously there wouldn't be. It's very much Regency romance. But the adaptation that have managed to, like, through looks or lingering touches
that's why
or
the
something.
hand flex is so good.
Exactly. The hand flex. In Emma, I think Emma and Knightley are the only people when they're dancing who don't dance with gloves. They're actually touching skin to skin. Like little moments like that, I think those are the things that elevate a Jane Austen adaptation. But I will stop there.
Yeah,
I could go on forever.
They lean into the swooniness, make it really romantic. I'm a fan. And I've always said about the 2005 film is that if we didn't have the 1995 Colin Firth, if that didn't exist, I'd be a little bit more irritated with like how much it clips along the plot and how much it leaves out. And like I would have more issues with the movie, but we already got the perfect line by line, exactly, version. We have that it exists and it's wonderful and I love it. And so what do you do next? You don't just try to duplicate, you try to do something different. And so I'm fine with them taking, I mean, I wish that it honestly was like 20 minutes longer, because I would love to have seen more with Lydia, love to see more with Wickham, love to see more with Bingley, love to see more in that movie. I'm not sure why they felt to need to make it like so short, but I'm glad that they did something different with it. Anyway.
I mean, I guess we'll see what they do with the Netflix adaptation coming out.
That'll be interesting.
Interesting.
So what's one that you thought of that you want to share?
From the list, I have a couple. I think there's a few on the list itself that I would agree. I think they're, some of the best of the 2020s. Dune Part 2, incredible. Both the Dune movies. I'm such a huge fan. I think probably Denis Villeneuve is one of, again, top directors working today. I think he's incredible. He very rarely misses. Sinner was a big one. I like that they included a Mission Impossible on there. I enjoyed that. Drive My Car, Decision to Leave. And actually, one of my favorites on the list is probably The Fabelmans. Sort of the Steven Spielberg autobiographical, not really movie. I don't think, probably objectively, it's not one of his best movies, but I think technically he's never been greater. And it's probably a controversial statement to make, but I thought the movie was just so subtle, and it had just such these quiet moments that I think you could see that he just poured his heart into it, that were just so beautiful and so devastating at the same time. That entire sequence of him, realizing his mother's affair as she's playing the piano, and then lashing out at her and, showing her the movie, and she's in the closet crying, and, that whole sort of moment where the camera just stays on Michelle Williams' face and she just breaks down at the realization that, like, he knows and she sees it on camera. It was those couple of sequences were just so haunting. I thought they were just so beautiful. So huge fan of the Fablemans. But I do think there's a few things missing from the list that I would have on there.
Well, let me share
Argentina
a couple.
1985.
Oh yeah.
That's
Yeah, that
one.
was good. That was
That
good.
was an amazing movie. I loved it.
Yeah. It's good. Some more that I have. I have Barbie, Hundreds of Beavers, Marcel the Shell with Shoes On,
Mm,
and The Menu. I The Menu is a movie that when I first saw it, I was like, oh, that was really good. And I gave it a very high score, but I was like, I don't know if I love the ending. That needs a little cynical for my taste. And I still feel a little
mhm.
bit that way, but it's a movie I just kept thinking about and wanting to talk about and wanting to be like, oh my, can you believe that scene? Can you believe that? And I just found it so entertaining. I think it is really good. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
and Marcel the Shell is just adorable. I love it so much. Hundreds of Beavers was so fun. And I just love the styling of it. I love the throwback to silent movie comedy. And it was so creatively inspiring to me. And then Barbie, you might not know because we're new friends, but I love Barbie and I love the Barbie animated films. I've watched all of them, love them. And so I was really nervous about this movie because I just really wanted it to be good and a celebration of Barbie and not here's why Barbie's like secretly lame,
Mhm.
and I was just so happy that that with what Greta did and that they allowed her to make this very weird movie. I admire them.
No, I
And
agree. I
yeah,
loved Barbie.
yeah.
I really enjoyed it.
It was so
I
entertaining.
saw it. I mean, I was a fan of Barbie since I was, little. I had all the Barbies. It was, my personality when I was a little kid, and I saw the movie with my mom actually. And it resonated for her too, the whole storyline with the mother and the daughter and the Barbies. Like that resonated with her.
Yeah.
So I thought
Yeah,
it was a really good movie.
it was so
I know
fun.
it gets criticism at times for its message and sort of being too simplistic, but I think that it needed to be simplistic. Like this is a movie that will be watched by little girls, right? They're not
Yeah.
gonna understand the nuances of like modern feminism and
Yeah.
intersectionality and like all the aspects we have to deal with as adult women.
Yeah. And
So I
people
think for
claiming
little
it
girls,
and people claiming
good.
it's anti-man. I think it's the reverse. I think it's actually pro-man. It when you
I
get
think it was a
past
little
all
too
the
pro man.
I mean, I could see that, but like at the end, she's actually listening to Ken and she actually cares about him where she hadn't been before. And she apologizes, says, I'm sorry that I wasn't giving it doesn't have to be girls' night every night. Like I think you can make an argument that it is a very pro male film, not and it's pointing out these labels that we put on each other, just like when
Mhm.
the little girl calls Barbie a fascist at the beginning of the movie, and it's like she has no basis for that except for the at that moment, except for the way that Barbie looks, and she calls her a fascist, and you think about like how quickly we are to label people because of the
Mhm.
way they look or some other aspect, and we don't take the time to actually listen to what they have to say, and
Yeah.
we just label them, and because it's easier and than acknowledging their humanity. And that was I think a big theme of the movie. That's the whole point of the America Ferrer's speech that she gives about it. In that case, it's about women, but it's really just about humanity, how hard it is to be.
Yeah.
So I
To be
really did
just a
love it.
woman.
Yeah, exactly.
Me too. I
So
really enjoyed it.
the rest of my picks, I have RRR at 5, and I actually saw RRR the same day I saw Morbius, which is really funny.
Interesting
What a
combination. Yeah, that
contrast.
was an interesting. Which one did you see first? That's
I
important
saw
too.
Morbius first, and then I
Okay, I
saw
think that's good. You know
RRR.
what? If you were gonna watch both in a day, that was probably the right order.
Yeah. But what a wonderful story of friendship, how exhilarating, how creative, how fun. Like it's a great film.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
liked R2. It's on my list as well. It
Yeah.
was really good. It was just a fun, epic,
I
crazy,
can't
good
remember if that's
time.
on Ehrlich's list, but it should be. It's just so joyful.
Yeah, it
Um,
is. It is on the list
is it
because I
on
did
his
a
list?
little
Okay.
check
Yeah.
mark. I was like, yes.
And then I have Red, White, and Royal Blue at 4. I
Mm,
absolutely loved this is probably the movie I've watched the most in the last 5 years. I watched it on just whenever I was in need of a pick me up. Oh, like I'll watch this.
yeah.
It was so good, I thought. And then I have Robot Dreams at 3, which was a movie I adored. Another movie about friendship, and loved the animation, loved the music. It was, in my opinion, as close to a perfect film as we've gotten in the
Hmm.
last few years. And then I have Puss in Boots: The Last Wish at number 2, which I was so skeptical about this movie. When I heard, I was like, "You're kidding me? What? Puss in Boots sequel? Why are they like what a cash grab? Oh, this is going to be
Yeah.
lame." And then I have to say, a lot of times the really Oscar baiting movies don't really do that much for me. Like
Hmm.
I don't get super passionate about them. And that year I was going through a bunch of screener DVDs that I'd gotten and or links, and then I got to Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, stick it in there, stick the thing. And I was like, oh, okay, let's do this. And I just had my mouth agape the whole time. I could not believe it. Like it was such a ballsy movie, and in my opinion, they pulled it off. That action scene in the first 10 minutes is so stunning and beautiful. The villain is so good. The movie has like actual heart. They managed to make 3 plot lines work simultaneously uh, that shouldn't work. And I just was so impressed with it. And the fact that I still think it's really cool because they could have totally just done the bare minimum. It's a Puss in Boots
Hmm.
sequel. Who cares, right? But they
Yeah.
didn't. They pushed themselves to make something, and I just think that's really special. So I love that movie. And then my number 1 is Tick Tick Boom. And this was a
Oh,
movie,
yes.
yeah.
The
This
Andrew
was a
Garfield musical.
Yeah.
Yes.
I love musicals. And this movie meant a lot to me. Not only did I absolutely love the songs, I loved Andrew Garfield's performance. He was robbed. He should have won the Oscar. But I loved the message in it, again about friendship, but also that just the struggle of being a creative. And I even with just my little things that I do, like I put a lot of love into it, and you just naturally you want other people to love it because you love it, but you can't make them love it.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
that's, and I'm a critic, and so I understand the other side of it as well. I get it. Um, but just that like yearning, and especially because you know how Jonathan's story turned out, that it's like, oh, when he finally
Yeah.
gets,
It
that
hits.
he dies, it adds like a bittersweet quality to it all. And it just meant a lot to me. I thought it was so moving. And I'm so grateful that because I'm a critic, I got the chance to see it on the big screen. And it's one of my favorite films ever.
Yeah. No, I thought there were several moments in that movie where I thought Andrew Garfield was so good.
Yeah.
Um,
And
and
I think
he's
he never sung
particularly
before.
good. Yeah, it
It's
was just something
amazing.
someone said. It's like, do it. I think he's so good when he's reacting to someone else.
Yeah.
Just the expression on his face and just that the emotion he gives up. I mean, the entire scene where his best friend tells him he's AIDS,
Oh,
HIV positive, just his sort of
devastating.
response to that. Like I still remember that scene, and it's been years. That was really good.
Yeah.
Um,
It's
I did think, I mean, if we're talking about musicals, I did think that something that was missing from the list was probably West Side Story, the
Yeah,
newer one that came out. I really enjoyed it. I
I did
thought
too.
for a story that has been, retold through several adaptations, I thought it was so beautiful, so full of emotions, so well
Yeah.
done. I mean, I guess again, Spielberg, like
I
he's just that good at, yeah.
Yeah, like hot take, but I think it's actually better than the original. The better, I mean, the original is more iconic as far as the dance. You can't beat that one. It's like
Hmm.
probably the best dance ever in a movie. So I get that. And some of the other artistry behind it. But I think that the two leads hurt that movie quite a bit. They don't have any chemistry
Mm,
together, and they're both dubbed and adequately, but I just appreciate the performances in this new one, and I think they had way more chemistry.
yeah, no, I think I agree. And again, for a story that's so familiar and we know how it ends and what happens, you really were, especially towards the end. You were towards, yeah, I was at the edge of my seat. I'm like, oh my gosh, like I know what's going to happen, but
Yeah.
still, oh my gosh, like that.
Uh,
And again, that's, I think having that feeling and adaptation, like that's what makes it. Yes, you know the story, but how it gets there and how it takes you there, if there's that connection and
yeah.
that emotion,
Hmm.
it just, that's the difference between a really good one and a
Yeah.
kind of meh
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
So I think that, I probably the list needed a few more musicals. The
Oh,
world
yeah.
just needs more musicals in general. I
Agreed.
love
Yes.
musicals.
Yes.
I love them.
Well, very
Um,
good. Let us know if you're listening. I mean, do you have any other ones you wanted to share on your list?
um,
Or did you
and
get them all?
you know what? I did think, since it included a whole bunch of action movies, I did think one of the John Wick movies should have been in there.
Uh, mm.
I love those movies. They were incredible. What Keanu Reeves does in them, hats
uh,
off. He's so good.
yeah.
And the other one that I don't know, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily call it like a hidden gem because it's been pretty mainstream and it's been really good. The Holdovers. I
Oh, yeah. That
really
would be on
love that
there too
movie.
for me.
I
Yeah.
loved it. It was so funny.
Yeah.
It just, I think,
Christmas movie.
Christmas movie, Paul
Yeah.
Giamatti, I think he should have won the Oscar probably for that performance. It was
Yeah.
so good, so layered,
Agreed.
so funny. Just the comedic timing of,
Yeah.
of the two of them just playing off each other. Just such a
Yeah.
good feel movie.
Good one. Good
Really a
one.
gem.
Yeah. I would probably have Are You There, God It's Me, Margaret on the list.
Oh,
I loved that one.
mhm.
I really did. Well, let us know what you think. What would you have on your best of the 2020s list? I would love to hear in the comments section, and let us know what you think about some other things we talked about with Materialists. If you're a super fan, put in the comments. If you disagree with us, we'd love to hear your thoughts. And Serena, if people want to follow you on Twitter, how do they do that?
Yeah, I am at Smololovan. That's my handle. SMOLOLOVAN.
Right.
I'm always tweeting about movies and TV shows and games and just have an opinion on everything, really.
Well, we will have that information in the description. You should definitely follow Serena. And you can find me at Rachel's Reviews, all of our social media, iTunes, YouTube, on Rotten Tomatoes. And you can find my theater reviews, rachelsreviewstheater.com, if you like that. So check that out. And also a Hallmarkies podcast if you want more of my rom-com and Hallmark coverage. Check that out. And if you are listening on iTunes, please leave your ratings and reviews. We really, really appreciate that. That helps the pod so much. And if you are watching on YouTube, please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. We're getting closer and closer to 5K every day, so definitely please subscribe and check out our entire playlist with all of our episodes of Female Film Critics Panel. Definitely want to take a look at that. And we have our Patreon group, which is the biggest way you can support everything I'm doing. And you have lots of benefits. You get bonus episodes, you get early episodes, You have our patron events every month where we have talent. We're having voice actress Natalie Gilbert on next month, and that's going to be super fun to get to talk with her. So it's a cool experience. So I try to make the Patreon as beneficial as possible. So please check that out. And then the merch store, where we have tons of fun designs. We even have Jane Austen inspired designs in the merch store. So check that out. A lot of rom-com. We have the Female Film Critics logo on there. Take a look at the merch store. And thanks so much, everybody. We'll talk to you later. Bye.